about all
usually?
it's paid, it's the cash.
It's not, you have to give me a lot of information, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so for, basically, and the information could, sometimes be complex in the sense how the engine works, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and the RPM, for example, and, and other technical details. So in
Yeah.
that case, I think personal selling, when you give a lot of information, or when you have to give a lot of information to sell a product, and the information is also complex, you oftentimes, not oftentimes, you should emphasize personal selling. So, let's say your parents are thinking of buying life insurance
Okay.
or some kind of an insurance product, right? There's so many different products in the marketplace that we just don't go and to a vending machine and buy insurance. We talk to a salesperson, the salesperson comes in and she explains to us the various options that are available, and then we make a decision. Or, for example, let's say your parents would like to invest some money and basically approaches a banker, or a banker approaches them. There's so many different ways in which they can invest money. So the banker has to give them a lot of information. Then they have to make a judgment call on that, and sometimes the information is complex because we're dealing with, bonds and stocks and, basically a portfolio of stocks, individual stocks, etc., and, etc., etc. So it's a complicated decision-making process. A lot of information is needed. So you emphasize personal selling.
Okay, sir. Got it. Thank you.
Sure. Okay. Anyone else? Okay, we're at 59.
Good morning,
Okay,
sir.
Suman, you have your hand up. Yeah, good morning.
Yes, sir. Sir, I have a question regarding determining and allocating budget. Sir, why aren't we accounting for environmental factors in the budget allocation process? Why are we only looking at it from mathematical point of view?
Well, I mean, we will look at environmental factors indirectly, but the mathematics also, will incorporate the environmental factors. So your sales this year is a function of what has happened environmentally. For example, your forecasted sales next year certainly is going to, be a function of, what's going to happen in the environment next year. So in some ways, it's taken in. So that's the qualitative part of, I guess, forecasting, if you will, or determining the budget. So no matter how much math we use, there's almost always this judgment factor comes in, and then that's where your own experience comes in, or you have hired experienced folks to work in the department, for example, their judgments come in, and you make a decision based on that.
Yes, sir,
And we
because I
will
was
soon,
wondering that COVID. Yes, sir, carry on.
yeah. So we will soon, talk about this method called competitive parity method, and that's where you base your budget on the basis of how much your competitors are spending. So that's also part of the economic environment, if you will. So at the
All
very
right.
least, and they might be also incorporating other environmental factors. Yeah,
Yes.
you were talking about COVID.
Yes, sir. So basically, what I was wondering is that COVID is such a situation that is unprecedented in the last 100 years at least. So no matter how experienced a marketer is to be, he or she would not never be able to account for such a pandemic. So I was wondering
Mhm.
how we could account such environmental factors into budget allocation.
I mean, there's certain things that you cannot see. I mean, tomorrow there might be a 8.9 magnitude earthquake in place X, and then the whole place kind of vanishes, it's destroyed. I mean, you cannot predict those things. I mean, forget marketers not being able to predict COVID. The doctors had no clue about COVID.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I was talking to my
Yes.
son, and essentially their hospital in New York City was featured on one of these national programs, and a senior
Yes.
doctor was speaking, and and later on I spoke with him. This is my elder son, and he said, nobody knew anything. I mean, us, the sort of the junior ones or the less experienced ones, the very experienced ones, basically nobody had a clue as to how to handle these things. As a result of which, you saw that in the initial phases, the hospitals were overwhelmed because anybody showing up with COVID symptoms, basically they were hospitalized, and then you had all these, equipments that had to be used. They were running short on
Yes.
these equipments, but now they make good judgment, and most of the people are being sent home to basically recover at home, self-isolation and all
Yes.
these things. I have a colleague and a co-author, a much younger fellow compared to me, who ended up getting COVID and he's fully recovered now. So it happened at home. So they're in a much better position
Yes.
to judge what to do, what not to do, what's coming, what's not coming. So that's what it is.
Yes, sir. Yes. Thank you, sir.
Sure. Anyone else? We are sitting at 60. Okay, let me. Okay, many more good morning. So good morning. I see my friend Dare joining us from all the way from Lagos. So how's the
Good
weather in
morning.
Lagos? Good morning.
Doing good, Lagos. Well, Nigeria is generally sunny at the moment. It's just very, very sunny, and we're just struggling to to stay
Is it is it
stay
is
right.
sunny and warm?
Uh, yeah, sunny, and I won't say warm. It's hot, very, very hot.
It's hot. Oh my God.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean,
it's
if you
hot.
had asked me, is it sunny and warm over here? I'd say sunny, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's warm. It's kind of cold.
Oh no, I mean,
Yeah,
we are both on the extremes of life, right? You're on the
I
colder
know, I
part,
know.
and and we're here on the
So
hotter part of life. So
yeah, very soon we'll have, I guess, winter setting in, and it'll be all white for a while. It'll be interesting and exciting, and then it's going to get boring pretty quickly,
yeah,
and it's going to
that's
go
true.
until April, and if we are very lucky, it'll go until May.
Oh,
So
so I guess
yeah,
I guess you don't like winter.
huh?
I'm guessing you don't like winter.
No, I've gotten used to it, because we're living here for now. I mean, this is our 17th year that we're here in this part of the country. You get used to it. I mean, and the winter over here is not the kind of wet winter, if you will, because the humidity, it's dry over here. So, if you go out and if you're well covered, it doesn't really bother you. And the other thing is, I don't have to walk around except when I'm in New York City. So it's fine.
Yeah, I was reading
Just
I was reading some news about some part of Canada being frozen already, and some part of Saskatchewan. I was just wondering how people have to cope, in this time.
yeah. I mean, Canada. I mean, the farther north you go, the I guess the colder it becomes. But it's interesting. Windsor, right here, actually, this part of Canada is to the south of where I'm sitting. I mean, so it's kind of a little upside down over here. There are parts of Windsor, or Windsor is to the south of some parts of Michigan.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, yeah. So okay, we have how many? 65. So let's get started. And again, if you have any questions, please raise your hand or just speak out. If nobody is talking, just talk, because if I miss your hand, then I guess I don't let you ask questions. So we're looking at the various ways, I guess, in which you can determine and allocate your budget. We still haven't talked much about allocation. We're still into the determination phase. So we have talked about 3A, which is where you decide on your budget based on your current sales. That is, your next year's advertising and promotion budget would be a function of how much you're selling this year, your sales volume this year. The other option is your advertising or promotion budget next year is a function of what you expect to sell next year or your expected sales volume in 2021. Now, I did, in the context of discussing 3A and 3B, I did talk about the problems associated with 3A in particular. Do you understand clearly what those problems are?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So there are two problems. So those are the problems that you should keep in mind, at least for your exam. Okay, so very good. Let's move forward and let's look at the other ways in which you can determine the advertising and promotion budget. Raki, are you here in class? I think I saw you come in. Raki? think she's there. She's logged in. Okay, I'll talk to her later on. Okay, so let's move forward and let's see now C, D, and E. So E will be the most comprehensive budgeting method. But before we go there, we're going to spend some time on D, 3D. So, but before we do that, let's talk about 3C. 3C is a budgeting method that is used often by small businesses. They don't have money to buy these fancy mathematical programs. They may not have all the know-how, for example, to kind of decide on the budget mathematically. So what they do is they keep it very simple. They use the spending all available funds method. What does that mean? Spending all available funds. So the idea is to spend all funds that are available on promotion and advertising after you have paid for expenses, business-related expenses, and setting aside a reasonable amount as profit. Very simple. So you pay for your rent, you pay for your raw materials, you pay your salary, you pay for this, you pay for that, and you also keep a chunk of change for your own profit, for example, and whatever is left over, the $10, the $10,000, you spend on advertising and promotion. Spending all available funds. So this is not a very sophisticated method, but it is a method that is used by a lot of particularly small companies, inexperienced companies. And I'm not going to say it doesn't work. I mean, it works, but you could sometimes underspend, you could sometimes overspend, but you really don't have control over how much you're spending, in the sense that you want to spend all funds that are available after you have basically paid for your expenses. Yeah, Mole Kumar, you're correct. And other small businesses paying for expenses and setting aside a reasonable amount as profit. Of course, you can, after that, control for the upper limit, but the bottom limit is basically a function of your other expenses and how much profit you want to set aside for yourself. Questions on 3C? Very nice. Let's talk about the competitive parity method. Competitive parity method. If somebody were to ask you what method is this, well, the answer is in the name itself. It has to do with your competitors, with your major competitors. Okay, so your budget is influenced by what the major competitors are spending. Your budget is influenced by what your major competitors are spending. So let's look at 3D in details, and then we will come back or move forward and we will look at 3E, the objective and task method of determining a budget. And as you can see over here, and please keep this in mind, this is the most comprehensive budgeting method. This is the most comprehensive budgeting method. Okay, any questions? Hearing no questions, let's move forward and let's look at this problem. Okay, so folks, here is the formula that you're going to use. Okay, PSA is products share of advertising. I know we have pharmacy students over here, and there are some physicians over here. I don't want you to think of PSA as this prostate test. Okay, so PSA here is products share of advertising. Yep, nothing to do with prostates. Okay, so PSA is, yeah, see, the doctor gives me the specific name, what was it? Prostate specific antigen. Okay, so that tells you whether, I guess, happy men's. Yeah, what is this men's day? I mean, what are the days do we have? Yeah, Nilufer, no, I mean, that is not the case. Well, fortunately or unfortunately. So what is this men's day?
The day is to raise awareness of prostate cancer, sir.
Well, I mean, I'm happy there's a men's day, because I think we men, and some of you might kill me for this, we men are kind of neglected species. We cannot say much, and we cannot do much. And some of you might be laughing, but anyways, good to have a Men's Day. Sandra gets a kick out of this big time. Okay, all right. But I think November is they call it Movember. It's Men's Cancer Awareness Month. So I don't know
Yes.
if it has to do with prostate cancer only. It has to do with, I guess, cancer awareness and honoring men for, yes, Sigma. You know, we are so lucky. You know, I mean, it feels so good to be honored for a day. You know, at least we got honored for a day. So, anyways, so this thing, I guess, you know, in November you're supposed to grow mustache or grow beard, and you know, and I don't know what to grow. I mean, you know, it's all grown. So for me, like every month is, I guess, given my facial makeup, it's like a cancer prevention month. No shave November. Yeah, I mean, you know, well, I don't know. I mean, yeah, that's true. I do shave on the sides. Yeah. Okay. Good. So PSA, now that we have gone past medicine, you know, crash course in prostate, what is it? What antigen? Gosh, I'm glad I didn't
Prostate
study medicine.
specific antigen.
Oh, prostate specific antigen. You know, if I had studied medicine, I would have failed. I cannot even remember this. Okay. Just mustache. Okay, I have it, so good. All right. So PSA is product share of advertising. Y is your competitor's budget. C, it's S possessive. Do you know the difference between apostrophe S or possessive S and S possessive or S apostrophe? So yeah, Dara says
Yes, sir.
yes, this is
Singular versus
singular,
plural.
this is plural, yes. All right. So this is competitor's S possessive budget, and X is what you will find out for yourself. That is your budget. You with me? Any questions? No questions? Let me do this. As you're looking at this, the next two slides are important. Oh, Dare, trust me, very real examples coming up. So I'm going to basically, you know, stop sharing, and I'm going to make life a little difficult for you guys. I'm going to split my next two overheads into four overheads because I cannot bring in one thing at a time. So is it okay? Stop sharing. Okay. So now let's see here. Give me 2 minutes. 6A. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Okay, so this is yeah, I'm still here, don't worry. I'm just gonna preparing slide. Okay, this is interesting, you know, in the process of preparing my slide. Let me cut this from here. Oops. Let me add this here. Okay, that's one. And then copy, paste. Okay, so from this one, I'm going to get rid of this. And from here, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, now you can ask questions as I'm kind of, you know, trying to prepare this thing. Okay, now where is that thing? Communications, no. Okay, 24 students. Today is the 19th, right? Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Prof,
So it's uploaded now.
Prof,
Yeah, I'm listening.
I'm kind of
I'm listening.
lost. The calculations is for the competitive parity method. The calculations we are doing now.
No, I'm not doing any
The
calculations. I'm just making life harder for you guys by splitting the slide so that I don't want to give the math problem away right away.
so what is the PSA for? Is it for the competitive parity method or is for all?
Yeah, it is. It is for the comparative parity method. Yes,
Okay.
because that's where we are discussing this. Okay. So, all right. So this is where we are, right? Yes. No.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So now let's work on a problem. So we're looking at this competitive parity method. See, Sandra, we are under this heading. Okay. So right here. So yes, it is associated with this method. Right. Now, let's try to remember this rule of thumb. Okay. See, you have PSA. Okay. And then we don't have any information on market share over here. But in the problem, you will have market share information. So how do you translate that into PSA? Well, for existing products, products that have been in the market for a while, the rule of thumb is PSA is equal to your market share. But if it is a new product, a newly introduced product, your PSA is going to be twice your market share because you have to spend more money on advertising because it is a new product. Are we clear on that at this point in time?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. I know Dare is still thinking, where is my example? It's coming, Dare. It takes a while to go from Detroit to Lagos. So here it is. So work on this problem. Don't just sit around and wait for me to solve this for you. ABC Beer uses the competitive parity method to arrive at its promotion budget. Calculate ABC Beer's budget, assuming it has 20% market share and its competitors spend $120 million on promotion. So you start out with that formula on the last page, PSA is equal to X, divided by X plus Y. Okay, you have 1 minute to solve this problem. ABC Beer uses competitive parity method to arrive at its promotion budget. Calculate ABC Beer's budget, assuming it has a 20% market share and its competitors spend $120 million on promotion. Who has the answer for me? Okay, Kitana says 30 million. Anybody else? $30 million. Malik Kumar. Anyone else? Okay, so it says 30 million, so all good. Okay, so let's move forward and let's look at the math. So here we go. So PSA is equal to X plus X over Y. And here's the rule of thumb that we are using. Yes, Hadra. And this is how we set it up. And we go through the process, and this is the value of X. So this ABC Beer Company should be spending $30 million on promoting its beer. Questions? So folks, when it's a new brand, I said PSA, what was the rule of thumb? PSA is equal to twice your market share. Okay, very good. Twice your market share. Let me see. Okay, what happened over here? All right. So, what do you think this number is going to be when you do the math? In this case, it was 1 times market share, right here. In the new instance, okay, so 60 million. So let's do the math. Kirtana says 80 million. Let's see if Kirtana is right or most of the rest of you are right. So let's do this. ABC Beer, a new brand, wants to use competitive parity method to arrive at its promotion budget. Calculate ABC Beer's budget if it aims for a 20% market share and its competitors spend $120 million on promotion. So now some of you are saying 80 million. Okay, so let's move forward. So here is that math. So you see, when it is a new product or a new brand, you not only have to spend more, but by using this formula, you're spending more than double of what you would have if it were an existing brand. So that's the secret of this story. Questions?
Sir, this is Maulik.
Okay, hold on. Anisa's hand came up like a fraction of a second before you said this is Maulik. So let her ask and then I'll go to you, Maulik. Anisa.
Thank you, sir. My question is the information about how much the competitors are spending on the promotion. Shouldn't that be confidential? Is it?
Yes and no. I mean, the exact amount might be confidential, but then if you look at trade publications, okay, oftentimes, the trade publications publish these numbers. Secondly, usually all data are easily available. Like, last year, how much Coke spent on, let's say, promotion and advertising, it's available out there. Okay, at least if not publicly through the trade magazines, not trade promotion, trade magazines or trade associations where you have to be a member, you have to pay money. So some kind of data are going to be available. Okay, is it going to be very exact? No, not necessarily. But if you get a ballpark figure, when you're looking at, for example, 120 million versus 130 million, what's $10 million at that level? Or 110 million this way, 10 million that way, 10 million. So yeah, is it an exact figure? Probably not. But is it a good figure based on last year's data? Probably yes.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Sure. Maulik Kumar?
Yes, sir. My question is about the modified product. If the one product is existed already in the market and we are modifying by adding some features into it, so will it be considered as existing product? I mean that PSA is equal to MS, or it will be considered as a new product?
Man, you have just complicated my life this morning. It's such a wonderful morning. Why do you ask hard questions like
Sorry,
that? No, I'm just kidding. No, I'm just kidding. Don't even be sorry. I'm just teasing you. Okay. If you look back at what we discussed during new product development, all right, modified products are also considered as new products.
Yes, sir.
You with me? So from that angle, we do like 2 times market share. PSA equals 2 times market share, right? Now, modification can happen at different levels. If it's majorly modified, significant design changes and also, significant changes in terms of what is inside the outer shell of the product, you have to spend a lot of money on advertising. If it's cosmetic changes, for example, then you may not have to spend a lot of money on advertising. But here is what I'm going to tell you. Given this kind of a situation where it is an existing product, but you have now modified it. So in the Toyota Camry from next year, they're going to introduce the 4x4s, the 4-wheel drives, particularly in this part of the country, because we think we need that during the winter months for better traction and all these kinds of things. So in this case, what I would do, and actually you would find this in some books, okay, PSA is equal to not 1, not 2, but actually 1.5 times the market share.
Okay.
So you'll spend more than $30 billion, but you'll spend less than $80 million. You get me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Got it. Thank you.
So if you pick up any advertising book, or not any, several advertising books, in some places they'll say twice market share, in some places they'll say 1.5 times the market share. I think that's where this confusion happens. So I'll take the middle of the road approach and say, okay, let's do a 1.5. Now, if you ask me why not a 1.3, I'll say go ahead, do 1.3. You know, or why not 1.6? I'll say go ahead, do 1.6. And it's a little bit here, a little bit there, you know, judgment call. So, all right, any other questions? Jyoti says 1 minus 0.4, 0.6. What was that?
Sir, it was Yuvraj's question I just replied to.
Which one?
So
Oh,
he
anyways,
asked,
I
please
thought you.
explain how we got 0.6x is equals to 48.
Oh, somebody asked the question. I didn't even see that.
Yeah.
Because these, you know, when you, I guess, send me text in a fast and furious way, you know, they kind of vanish. Okay. So this, okay, you know, that's what I thought that you're explaining this thing. Okay. All right. So let's move forward. If you don't have any questions, and let's look at, actually, by moving forward, we're moving backward because we are looking at the objective and task method. And write this down, please. I said this is the most comprehensive budgeting method. This is the most comprehensive budgeting method. How do we do this? Well, here are the details. This is a 3-step process: 1, 2, and then 3. So in the first stage or step, you establish your promotion objectives. This is something that we actually have studied. We have done this. We looked at overall objective. You can also come up with specific objectives, but you have your objectives. Then you need to identify the promotion tasks that will accomplish each objective. So you say, okay, to accomplish overall sales goal, we're to spend money on advertising, we're to spend money on sales promotion, and we have to sell money on personal selling. These are the 3. So you rank them in order of importance, and you say, okay, you know, this is number 1. This is very, very, very important. Okay. And then this is number 2 in terms of importance. This is number 3 in terms of importance. So after you have ranked them in order of importance, you estimate cost of each of these things. How much would advertising cost? How much would personal selling cost? How much would sales promotion cost? Now, in the third stage, you build a budget by approving the tasks one at a time. So let's say I'm just throwing numbers, okay, over here. Let's say advertising is going to cost, let's say, $50. Personal selling is going to cost $40. And then sales promotion is going to cost, let's say, $20. Okay. Why are so many people leaving the session? I guess it's internet problem, whatever it is. Okay. So this is what, 70 and 40, 110. Okay. Now, you build a budget by approving the task one at a time until the funds are exhausted. So, you know, you have, let's say, $100. You have $100. Okay. So you say, okay, we can do advertising, that's 50 out of 100 gone. We can do personal selling, that's 40 out of 100 gone. So that's 90 gone. So sales, a promotion needs $20, but we have $10. So we can allocate $10 to sales promotion, not 20. You don't have 20. Or what you can say is that, look, it needs $20 to do, for us to do it in a nice way. I have $10. I just cannot or shouldn't be spending the $10 on sales promotion. So these $10, I am going to redistribute them basically to advertising and personal selling. So I'm going to spend 55 on advertising and 45 on personal selling. That's my $100. So build a budget by approving the tasks one at a time until funds are exhausted, or until lower ranked tasks cannot be justified in terms of funds required to implement them. I cannot really justify spending $20 on sales promotion, so I'm not going to forget to spend $20, not even those $10. I'm going to redistribute those $10 to these two other elements of the promotion mix. Any questions? Confusing, yes, very. So what is the confusion, Dari?
So, hello.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, you were talking about allocating the funds to different aspects,
Uh-huh.
rank. The concept of
Mhm.
rank, I don't even understand what you were talking about in terms of rank. That's where to start from. I really don't understand what the ranking is all about. So I was just trying to read through to see if there's anything I can
So
really
let's
pick up from
read
there.
number 2.2. So what does it say? What does that statement say after rank?
It says rank them in order of importance. So I don't understand. Is it the advertising technique?
No, what does importance mean?
Um, Importance means the ones that are
So
I don't know,
I'll use this
more
I'll use
pressing.
this example. Okay, so I'll use this example. So you have your mom
Okay.
and you have your girlfriend. Have you found one?
No, 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 not yet.
Not yet, right? But keep trying. But let's assume for the time being, to feel good, you have one. Okay. And let's say someday,
Okay.
someday you end up, being serious about her, and maybe, you are thinking of marrying her, and maybe you have married her, right? Guess what will happen? You
Hello.
have to now decide who's more important between your
Hello.
mom and your wife. So you have to rank them in
Hello.
order of importance. Whose commands you're going to see? Fatima says, "Mom." And I don't know if you have a son who's married, but I guess that'll be the real test. You have to rank them in order of importance. Who you're going to listen to more versus less. Okay. See, people know they're laughing over here, Dari. Okay, so this rank them in order of importance means what is more important for your business in this case, and then you estimate the cost. So let me go back to your to you. I mean, you said your mom owns a business, right, Dari? Oh, you lost him.
Yeah, I think he's having connection issues.
Uh-oh. Now I have to explain this whole thing over again because he hasn't heard about his girlfriend story. Okay, let's move forward. When he comes back, we'll talk about it. The rest of you, do you understand ranking, these in order of importance and then estimating cost? Okay, good. So let's move
Yes.
forward. Very nice. I have a sinking feeling the moment I can get out of this thing, that I will be in. Okay. So, all right. So if you don't have any questions, let's move forward and let's talk about advertising. And again, this advertising lecture is going to be not so, well, I mean, the surprises will be gone because of the format we are using, but it is what it is, right? Well, these slides are going to be really kind of cluttered. I'm sorry, but I cannot use Zoom, so this is what you have to live with. Okay. So let's move forward and let's talk about advertising. Okay, and after advertising, we'll talk about sales promotion, and then we'll talk about personal selling. Okay, and it'll happen over the next couple of days, I guess. Okay, by next Tuesday, hopefully we'll be done. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. We have advertising. So first, we're looking at the role of advertising. Okay, and advertising plays certain roles. The role of advertising is to inform the consumers about a product or a service or an idea or whatever you're selling. The role of advertising is also to convince the consumers, to persuade them basically to think about your product, okay, to create a positive attitude towards your product, for example. The role of advertising could be to remind consumers about your existence, and of course, through advertising, if you can, and I hope you can, induce action amongst the consumers, that is, make them buy the product. So when we talk about role of advertising, we are thinking in terms of informing the consumers, persuading or convincing the consumers that your brand is better than the other competitors in the marketplace. Sometimes the role of advertising is to remind consumers about who you are and, of course, to induce action. All right. So assuming you don't have any questions about the role of advertising, let's move forward and let's look at the various types of ads that we have out there. Now, this is going to be a little tricky in the sense, when you talk about types of advertising, you can slice and dice or compartmentalize these various ads that you see on a daily basis into so many different bins, if you will, or groups, if you will. Okay. And I don't think you'll be necessarily incorrect or wrong. So what I have done is I have put them in a couple of bins into groups so that it's easier for us to conceptualize what type of ads these are, and it's easier for us to make strategic decisions relating to advertising. So what I have done is I have put them into two groups, two main groups. One is product advertising, and the second one is institutional advertising. Product advertising and institutional advertising. Within each of these broad areas, I have three subtypes, if you will. Fortunately, the names are identical for product advertising and for institutional advertising, and those names are pioneering ads, competitive ads, and reminder type ads. So let's go through them one at a time, and then I'll talk about them, give examples, and then move forward. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's look at product advertising. Okay, so the slide is kind of terrible over here because things are overlapping. There's nothing that I can do, so let's move forward. Okay, this is what is this? I mean, this is the old picture. I guess I thought I had changed it to iPhone 12, but it didn't happen in this thing. Okay, so we're looking at, ladies and gentlemen, product advertising. So here we go, product advertising. Okay, so first we have pioneering product ads, then we have competitive product ads, and then finally we have reminder type product ads. So let me tell you what these ads do usually. They try to, pioneering product ads, they try to create awareness for a product or a brand. Create awareness for a product or a brand, particularly when it is new or when people are clueless about the product or the brand. Okay, so they try to create awareness for a product or a brand. Secondly, they try to develop what's known as primary demand as opposed to selective demand, as you see over here under competitive product advertising. So they try to develop primary demand as opposed to selective demand. Can anybody help me with the difference between primary demand and selective demand? I think we have briefly talked about elastic demand versus inelastic demand, but can somebody explain or help me understand the difference between primary demand and selective demand?
Sir, those demands who is necessary for us to get the routine lifestyle. Those are the primary demands, and the selective demands in that we have the choice. For example, the luxurious item.
Okay, so that's an interesting way of looking at it. I think Parzeen also talks about essential versus non-essential. Anybody else?
Sir, so this is Suman.
Without Googling, yeah.
Sir, a
says for daily needs.
Sir, a primary demand is, according to me, a primary demand is one, like a new kind of demand, creating a demand that wasn't felt before by the consumers, and selective demand is a specific type of demand in which we have to choose amongst competitors.
Okay, so yeah, you're on the right track. So primary demand is essentially demand for the product category as a whole. So, and as an example, we are now beginning to see electric cars. So developing primary demand would be developing demand for electric cars. 10 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, developing primary demand would mean, for example, developing demand for self-driving cars. You with me? On the contrary, selective demand would be creating demand for one type of electric vehicle over another type, Tesla versus GM, one brand versus the other brand. So when we talk about primary demand, we're talking about a product category, creating demand for self-driving cars, whereas selective demand would be creating demand for a Ford self-driving car, a Toyota self-driving car, a Honda self-driving car, for example. Okay, so pioneering product ads create or develop primary demands. Questions? So speaking of self-driving cars, would you buy one of those cars? Would you feel comfortable being in a car that is going by itself? So this is a little bit of market research there. Parzin says no, Ritika says no, Nafisa no, 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 oh my God. Now it's gone so many messages that I cannot see. So I'm assuming a lot of you are saying no. So why not? Sandra says I'm fine. Why, Sandra, you don't like to drive? Person says I cannot trust. Autopilot's in place. Yeah, I was going to ask Farzin, I mean, when was the last time you flew from Tehran to Toronto?
It was last year, doctor.
Okay, how long is the flight?
It was 24 hours.
The flight, 24 hours?
And it wasn't a direct flight. I go to Amsterdam and then after that
Okay,
I
so
came
from Amsterdam,
to
this is what, a 6-7 hour
Vancouver.
flight? Oh, Vancouver, that's what, 8-hour flight from Amsterdam?
Yeah, and
Okay.
14 hours from Amsterdam to Vancouver,
Oh,
and
that's a
8
long
hours.
flight.
Yeah, 8 hours
So,
from Tehran to Amsterdam.
Amsterdam, okay. Trust me, within those 8 hours and within these 14 hours, the plane was actually flying on its own. It was on autopilot. So that's the kind of technology, I guess, that we're going to have for cars. But then, we have this, and there's nothing right or wrong about it. We're not used to being in such environments, so we have this mental block. So big challenge is going to be, Fatima, you have big eyes. Why is that? You didn't know that planes flew on autopilot? So next time when you're
Hello,
flying
sir.
from Tehran, you go, huh?
I think it's a little scary, sir.
Yeah. So next time when you fly from Tehran, periodically, like every hour, you go to the pilot's cabin on the door and knock soft. Don't knock hard. Knock softly. Say, are you awake?
Okay.
Because if you knock hard, the marshals might come and put handcuffs on you. So be careful how you talk to their people. No, don't do that. You're not supposed to go near the pilot's door. Okay, it's locked and it's secured. I'm just teasing. Okay.
Yeah,
So
but for the plane, in the sky you don't have a lot of traffic, but in the roads and streets you
yeah,
have a
but
lot
in
of
the sky,
traffic. And
okay. Whereas there are certain, I guess, flight paths where you have plenty of planes flying. You'd be very surprised. And they go very fast and you have to maintain a certain distance. So on the road when you're driving, and even when you're driving like crazy, I don't know how crazy you drive, but oftentimes you're maybe 10 feet away from the car in front of you. In case of planes, I mean, you have to be several miles behind each other, and then thousands of feet above or below each other. And cars, if you bump into somebody, you still might be able to walk out of that car. Planes, good luck. So the intensity of what can happen is pretty severe. So anyways, but the thing is, it's a mental block that we have. Nothing right or wrong about it. So our cars won't even move due to traffic. No. Oh, like in Dhaka, you mean? Oh, okay. Yeah, that would be interesting. But then if everybody is on autopilot, I guess, then the cars will behave. Because we human beings don't behave on the roads. But the cars will talk to each other and, they'll behave and you'll see, it'll be a smooth kind of flow of traffic. Now, I don't know what we're going to do with the cows and the goats on the road, but, by the time we have these cars available for all of us, maybe there'll be chips available that we can basically, hang on the goat's neck or the cow's neck, and basically they'll be autopiloted away from the roads. Who knows? Uh, uh, no, autopilot. It'll happen in Bangladesh. So we'll see. Okay. All right. So let's move forward before we lose track of, what class this is, whether it is like an automotive engineering class or a comedy session or advertising. Let's move forward and talk about these other things. All right. So this YouTube video, I don't remember what's there. I cannot even pull it up. So let's move forward and let's look at competitive product advertising. So competitive product ads, basically, the goal is to create selective demand for a brand within the product category. And this is mainly used in the growth stage of the product life cycle. In the growth stage of the product life cycle, we will talk about some examples pretty soon. I don't want to go back and forth, but give me some time. We'll talk about these examples. And then we have reminder type ads. So these ads are run to maintain the position you have achieved in the marketplace, to hold on to your position in the marketplace. Okay. And these ads are mainly run in the maturity stage of the product life cycle. So let me give you two examples. This one is American Express. For the longest time, time, they have been running this ad where they say, don't leave home without it. So that basically is a reminder type of an ad. The slogan says it all, don't leave home without it. Then you have this medicine, over-the-counter medicine called Alka-Seltzer. Basically what happens is, now that the holiday season is approaching with Thanksgiving and Christmas, we tend to overeat. So, some of us will have, acidity problems and those kinds of things. And Alka-Seltzer, for the longest time, they, have been running this ad, particularly during the holiday season, when they say, will it be there when you need it? Will it be there when you need it? Alka-Seltzer. So they're reminding you to stock up on Alka-Seltzer so that, you don't overeat, you're going to have, acidity problems. Alka-Seltzer is going to be able to, basically take care of those problems. Questions on product advertising, the pioneering types, the competitive types, and the reminder types. Sabina Yasmin has left the session. Yeah, I guess, it's connectivity issue. Questions? Isn't there a singer, Sabina Yasmin? In Bangladesh? Yeah. Okay. All right. So my general knowledge is not too bad. Okay. Any questions? All right. So I have 6 new chat messages. I have no idea what those are. So let's move forward. If you have a question, ask. So here are some examples of competitive product ads. Okay. So you see over here, I guess I have to wait behind for what, Dare?
All right, sir. Sorry, sir. The other time when you were explaining the other concepts, I lost connection.
I know, and that's why I became very sad. I told the class that you missed out on a very good explanation.
Yeah, so I guess I have to wait behind after the class just to get the explanation.
Yes. So up to what point did you hear the explanation?
Yeah, you were talking about ranking. You were using an
Yeah,
analogy
but did
parent
you
and
hear the example where I basically got you a girlfriend and got you married?
yeah, I was just going to, I was just, I went off at that point. I was just listening at that
Okay,
point.
I know, and after that, Sandra became very sad because she was trying to choose mom or wife. I mean, Sandra, because she's trying to kind of get you connected to her sister, and she was really sad. She sent me those emojis with tears kind of rolling out of her eyes. So
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll explain that to you. Don't worry.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, so here are some examples of competitive product ads. So this is, ladies, a cover girl. I don't know if it's recent or not so recent, but this is just one product, and that's how they're advertising. Whereas if you look at these other two ads here, it's competitive in the sense that one is comparing itself with another brand, AT&T versus Verizon. And here we have basically, two brands, but you have picture of only one brand. They just name the other brand, but they don't show any pictures. So competitive advertising can come in different shapes, forms, and sizes. Okay, but it is, basically brand advertising. Let's see what else we have. Some more examples of competitive product advertising. So we have, basically this is Mac versus PC, Nerd versus Pretty Boy. And then we have, doesn't your skin deserve better? So this is Dove, and I think it's a Procter & Gamble product, and this is the competitive product. Sometimes you can look at the bottle and you can figure out what brand this is, but they won't explicitly name the brand. But look at this, barbed wire, and it gives you the feeling like, when you use this product, it doesn't matter, you have basically, particularly in the winter months, you might have itchy skin, skin that's not smooth, etc., etc. Then you have, over here again, this is that Nerd and Pretty Boy example, and same as over here. Okay. Now, reminder product ads, you might not be able to associate with these ads. This is a shoe called Buster Brown. Okay, it's interesting because do you connect with this type of shoes? Appear to remember. I know you cannot read anything over here, but any idea? This is an old brand since 1904, I guess. It's called Buster Brown. Anyways, I'm using this ad because even though the brand is not the same, my brand is, this is in Canada, in India, it's a Czechoslovakian company, Bata. Have you heard of this brand name? Yes, in Bangladesh, in India, we have Bata. Okay, so it reminds me of my childhood. And the shoes that I had, I didn't have too many pairs. One black pair for school and one white. We called it Keds, K-E-D-S in those days. You call them sneakers now. Okay, those were the two pairs. But the black pair looked like this, and the Bata brand used to be called Toughies, like from the word tough. And boy, those were tough shoes. I would do everything in those shoes, including playing soccer. And it lasted forever till I outgrew those shoes, and they still lasted. Okay, so it's like a pair to remember. In this case, though, the ad basically is talking about, it's a reminder type of advertising, like, you nostalgia, bringing back memories. So these are touchy-feely ads. You wear these shoes and you play around in the dark with your dog, with your soccer ball or whatever it is. So it's a different type of an ad. Let's look at some of the reminder ads. Okay, yes, inheritance shoes. If I gave those shoes to my sons, they are going to disinherit me as a dad. It's like go away. All right. So that's the story. Okay. So inheritance and disinheritance. All right. Okay. So here we have reminder ads. It says ask your doctor about whatever this medicine is. Here we have rules and regulations about what they can show, what they cannot show. All right, but these are examples of reminder type ads. Let's move forward. Let's look at institutional ads. So we covered product advertising. Now we're looking at institutional advertising. And again, the three same names: pioneering institutional ads, competitive institutional ads, and reminder type of institutional ads. So folks, what comes to your mind when you hear this brand name? BASF. No ideas? I guess that means no, nothing. No idea. So BASF is a big name chemical company. It's a big name chemical company. Okay, and most people, they have no idea. If people know, they know I think it's a German company. BASF, big name chemical company. Okay, so BASF realized that they had an image problem. Most people weren't even, most people were clueless about, what this company did. And those that knew, they said, oh, this is a chemical company. So they started running ads. Okay, again, these ads are on YouTube. You can look up, BASF ads, and they basically started telling us. Okay, they started, telling us how what they do affects our daily lives, how what BASF does affects our daily lives. So they will run ads that will say, we don't make surfboards, surfing, okay? We don't make surfboards, but we make them stronger. We don't make music, but we make them, I guess, more pleasant to listen. BASF, you may not know because you are a different generation. In the old days when we used to have tape recorders or VHS recorders, BASF actually would make those audio tapes and videotapes. Okay, so the chemicals that BASF actually manufacture, those chemicals go into a lot of things like basically golf balls to make it better quality. Goes into like child seats, car seats, the plastic component. It goes into that component to make child seats stronger and more secure. So they are present in our daily lives all over the place in all kinds of products we use, but their image is that of a chemical company. So they're running these ads to create an image or change the image in the minds of the consumers. Those ads would be pioneering institutional ads. Here is another example of a pioneering ad. This is an old one, but I'm going to use it because I think it's a very nice one, a nice example of pioneering institutional ad. Okay, let's go back to maybe when some of you were born, 1994. Where was World Cup soccer held in 1994? No Googling, please. Mexico, Brazil, France. Okay. World Cup soccer was held in the US in 1994. And, I didn't take the opportunity to go watch those games, but in 2026, it's going to be in the US. And I am going to go and watch some of those games because I don't think if I'm going to get the opportunity again in my lifetime of another World Cup in the US. So if I am, what is this, 2020, if I am 76 this year, I'll be 82 when next World Cup rolls in the US. Yeah, Dare got it. That was a joke. Anyways, so in 1994, World Cup was held in the US, but US is 78. Oh, this year, right, Dare? Yeah, so I'll be 84 in 2026. Yes, okay. That's your age. Yep, you missed. I missed what?
Sir, I was just wondering, you missed World Cup matches or like back in 1994 when you had the opportunity to go there?
Yeah, I mean, Los Angeles area, West Coast, but I just, I just didn't. But now that, now that I have fewer years ahead of me to be on this planet, all of a sudden this has become one of those things I want to check that box.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should probably go. So yeah, we should go. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yep, absolutely. All right. So let me go back to my story. Otherwise, I'll forget what I was talking about. So no, US basically, in 1994, soccer wasn't that popular. Now at the grassroots level, they play soccer. What is also interesting to you, to a lot of people, is that when you look at US's soccer ranking, it's not very bad. Actually, we have been at one time like number 12 or so. So we are kind of within the top 25, I guess, in the worst case situation. So, and you might say, well, you play in a group where, the teams are not that strong. Yeah, but then, there are other parts of the world where the teams are not that strong, but those teams, some of those teams haven't been able to achieve, the ranking that US has. So it's a new sport in the US, because in the US, people are are into American football. Did I tell you why US the football is called football in the US? Yeah. So they're into football, they're into baseball, they're into basketball, but soccer is like number 4. Okay. So they had to come up with a good ad to make create interest amongst, or awareness amongst the US, I guess, fans, if you will, of this particular market. So what they did was they took the famous picture of Neil Armstrong. It's the first person who walked on the moon. Famous picture of Neil Armstrong on the moon, and they repositioned the picture with a soccer ball near his feet, and they repositioned the picture to sort of basically paint I guess an image as if he was about to boot the ball up in the heavens. Okay, and the caption read, USA Soccer's Final Frontier, which at that time it was. No two ways about it. USA Soccer's Final Frontier. So, 1994, people could associate with that image of Neil Armstrong, that was basically, going to the moon. This is one of the frontiers of human, I guess, advancements. So that final frontier kind of being coupled with this final frontier in terms of soccer. So I thought that was a very unique ad to create awareness for a very new international event in the US. Okay, so that to me was also a pioneering ad. All right, any questions? So I know Nigeria has played in the World Cup, correct?
Yes.
Yes. Proud Nigerian. Has Ghana played in the World Cup?
Yes, they have. I think I can't
Yes, they
remember
have.
Yes.
exactly. I think it was 2010 something.
Okay, has Iran played in the World Cup? Well, let's talk about qualified to play in the World Cup. Iran?
Yes, sir. Iran also played.
Okay, Iran played. Okay. What other countries do we have left? China? Have you qualified to play in the World Cup? I think we lost people from China. Bangladesh?
No, sir. We didn't. China, neither. India.
China didn't qualify. Bangladesh didn't qualify. Pakistan?
No, sir. Not Pakistan, not India.
So who's
No,
saying?
sir.
Who said not India?
So it's Imran.
Imran.
Yes, sir.
Well, that's why I kept India at the very last, or for the very last question. Any idea why?
So India
No,
did
sir.
qualify in the 1950 World Cup, but they were disqualified because they refused to play with boots. If I'm
Yeah,
not
so
wrong.
India actually qualified to play in World Cup, and they wanted to play bare feet, and at least some of the players, and they basically were not allowed to play barefoot. So that's the thing. And you'd be surprised how much control you can have over the ball when you play bare feet. I have played soccer in a barefoot, and it's amazing control that you can have. Now, some of you might feel that, whoa, it's going to hurt your foot. I mean, no, it doesn't. You get used to it, and actually, you can use your toes to control the ball. Which doesn't it hurt? Nope. I mean, now if I try, it's going to hurt because I've been spoiled living in the U.S. But growing up in India, I mean, bare feet on pebbled roads, and nothing would happen. We'd get scratched up, come home, get scolded by our parents. Life would go on.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with that. But when you play in professional level, that time things are a bit different. So that's why
Yeah,
the wire
but in
boots
the
and
old days,
anglets, everything.
I agree. But when the first Indian team defeated the big British regiment team in 1911 and lifted the Indian Football Association, the IFA Shield, okay, most of the players actually played barefoot. So it's basically rules changed over time. So you cannot go in and play barefoot. So because of, I guess, safety and security of the players, you have to wear shin guards. That's a must. You have to wear, soccer shoes or boots, if you will. So that's the rule. So you have to kind of abide by the rules. Anyways, do I watch soccer? I don't really, because I have no connections to these teams. There has to be some connection to be excited about a team. So I don't really. Once in a while I'll watch. Okay, World Cup I'll watch just because it's World Cup, and of course you probably play football too. At Anisa, good. I mean, I'm glad you didn't ask me. Okay, so let's move forward. But Dare.
Yes, sir. I was going to ask, what position did you play back then?
Not then. I played soccer for a long time, actually. Even till like 10, 15 years back, I was playing soccer in a recreational league.
So what position were you playing?
Oh, the older I grew, the more, I moved kind of forward. So I was a striker.
Oh, so you probably play alongside Maradona and the like.
Yeah, he, learned a bit of some of the tricks from me. But in my younger days, though, I used to play as a goalie. I was a goalkeeper.
I thought as much.
So so that was the farthest kind of defensive position I was in. But I was never a good defender.
So how did you transition? How did you transition forward position?
I was pretty good at both of those. So forward positions, I could striker means striker. I could score goals.
Okay,
and I have actually scored goals. I've scored goals directly from corner. Huh?
Maybe one of these days we'll play together. We'll probably go to the
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I get a heart attack, do call the ambulance, but we'll play together. No question about it.
I'm scared you're going to dribble me. That's just no problem.
Because I actually, have scored goals from corner kicks directly.
Wow.
Yeah, I wasn't too bad, but I was very skinny. I mean, I didn't have a whole lot of power, so that kind of held me back a little bit. Yeah. Everyone, that's a goal. That's a hockey goal, is it, Sigma? I don't know. Anyways, so let's move forward and let's talk about competitive institutional advertising. Okay, this is where two product categories sort of compete with each other. So we have an example: corn sugar versus cane sugar. Okay, so let's talk about Coke and Pepsi. The Coke that we get in the US basically has corn sugar in it. The Coke that they get in Mexico, just to be close to each other, they have cane sugar in it, or sugar from sugar cane. And the perception is that sugar cane or cane from cane sugar is healthier than corn sugar. The perception is that cane sugar is healthier than corn sugar. So essentially, look at this. The corn sugar people, they came out with this ad and they said, when it comes to corn sugar or cane sugar, your body doesn't know the difference. Sugar is sugar. And this is by Corn Refiners Association basically saying this thing, because they're competing with the other category, which is cane sugar. So that's the idea behind institutional advertising, which is competitive in nature. Finally, we have reminder type of institutional ad, and this is where basically companies advertise to maintain their image in the marketplace. And I'll give you this example of Pfizer, and then we'll move forward. So Pfizer used to be running this ad for a long time, where they showed basically this NBA, National Basketball Association player. Okay, he played for the San Antonio Spurs, and they said, look, they mentioned a year, and in that year, this fellow was diagnosed with a life-threatening illness, and to basically and thanks to the drugs we manufacture, he survived. And he is leading a productive life right now. I don't know if he could go back to the NBA, but in this ad, they show, now he's a family man, he's a dad, and he's actually playing basketball with his teenage daughter. Okay, so basically, whatever serious illness he had, Pfizer basically, through its research, through its introduction of drugs, can have solved that problem. And so they're running those ads to basically create a certain image for the company Pfizer. What is interesting is that initially Pfizer said that their anti-COVID vaccine was 90% good, or success. Okay, Then somebody came out and said theirs was 94.5% good, and all of a sudden, in a couple of days, Pfizer says they are 95% successful. Okay, so I have no idea, what's going on. How in 2 days it went up from 90 to 90%, but it is not 50%, it is 90%. So I will take that shot whenever it is made available to me. Questions about product advertising, institutional advertising, pioneering, competitive, reminder. No questions. So what we will do is we will look at some of these examples. So here we have reminder type ads, institutional, remember to vote. I did remember to vote. Okay. I had to remind my sons, particularly my youngest son, 4 times to vote. And, he did finally vote. Okay. Elder son, I didn't have to quite remind him, but I reminded him. And why would I remind one son and not the other son? Particularly, my elder son is the one who just forgets things. The younger one doesn't. So what do you think is going on over here? The choice? What do you mean, Dare?
Okay, so maybe the elder son or the elder child probably doesn't support the person you're also supporting. So maybe
Okay,
it's
so
not
do you think he supports Trump? So I don't care if he votes.
exactly. I'm just saying.
Some people won't listen. Okay, no. I don't think he supports Trump. Actually, my elder son, they both live in New York, but my elder son actually has a New York license, so he gets to vote in New York. So, whether he votes or not in New York, it really doesn't matter for Biden because, New York Biden will win easily. And he has. But my younger son, even though he lives in New York, his license is still a Michigan license. So he votes in Michigan. So his vote really mattered for Biden over here because Michigan is one of the swing states. Okay. And, of course, I didn't have to remind my wife, and she voted through the mail, but my younger son, I did. And eventually he called me and said, Dad, okay, how should I, vote? And not for the national level, but for the state level. Okay. Remember to vote. Here is an ad. A mind is a terrible thing to waste, and they're asking people basically to donate money. And this is actually called the United Negro College Fund. That is still the name that they use. And essentially, it's a reminder ad that, please donate money because we do spend money on certain, I guess, types of students. Basically, if they get opportunity, they're going to do well. Society as a whole will benefit, and so on and so forth. Finally, here is a reminder ad from Singapore, I think. Okay, there is humor in it. Some of you might understand, some of you might not understand. So, Dare, what am I saying over here? It says, this is for a public restroom. It says, we aim to please, you aim to please. Okay, so Anisa gets it, all right? So, good. Okay, Raisa gets it too. So let's move forward. And Darren and I will have a side conversation. So, okay, now people are getting it. Okay, all right. So let's move forward and let's talk about advertising decisions. Darren, which is confusing?
Yeah, the adverts, we aim to please, you aim to please. I don't understand. What does that mean?
See, why are the women laughing?
Okay, I don't understand.
Okay, this is okay. Let me give you a hint. This is a public restroom.
Okay.
Men's restroom.
All right.
I cannot be more explicit than that.
Okay.
Okay. So Mr. Dare gets it finally. Okay, all right.
Okay, I'll probably ask because I'm still confused, but don't worry, I'll ask one of my classmates. I'm hoping to get
Oh,
answers.
you can ask me. Don't
Maybe
ask
Sharon will help
anybody
me
to.
out.
Huh?
Maybe Sharon will help me out. I'm just hoping because she's also smiling.
No, I'll help you out. But don't ask anybody to demonstrate. Just ask for the meaning.
Okay. So,
Okay, all right.
Sandra, why?
Yeah. So, huh? Hello?
I was just talking about Sandra. Like I was wondering why she was smiling too.
Yeah, well, that's $1 million question, man. Figure it out. I'll tell you later on. All the women are laughing, and then all the guys are kind of they are clueless. So it's interesting. Anyways, let's move forward. Advertising decisions. Yeah, Daddy, don't feel bad. You'll be clued into this thing. Okay, I'll explain. Okay, advertising decisions. So we have basically the target market over here. Okay, and you have your objectives. Okay, based on what market you're targeting, and you have to make decisions on budget. You have to make decisions on the message. This is the creative aspect of advertising, and you have to make decisions on media selection. Finally, you have to look at the results of your advertising campaign and do advertising and marketing research, assess the effectiveness of the campaign, and essentially revise your objectives based on how you have done in the previous period. So we actually have covered this, the budget part. So we will talk about the creative aspect of advertising message, and we'll talk about media. When we get into media, we will look at some numbers, but we'll go through that slowly, all right? So let's move forward and let's talk about a little bit about objectives, advertising objectives. So this is number one. Next thing we'll discuss. Then we'll get into the creative aspects of advertising, and then we'll talk about media, okay? So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about objectives. All right. So advertising has two major objectives. Number one is communication objectives. Number two is sales objective. Is that clear? Two major objectives. Are we clear on that? First one is communication objectives. Second one is sales objectives. Now, under communication objectives, ladies and gentlemen, please listen to this carefully. If for nothing else, for your exam. Under communication objectives, you have two types or subtypes. One is brand awareness or creating brand awareness, and the other one is creating a brand attitude, a positive brand attitude. Okay, so let me explain these one at a time. So let's talk about brand awareness. Brand awareness, it's awareness. How aware are you about the brand? Actually can be measured or can be examined from two different angles. Brand recall and brand recognition. So let me explain to you the difference between brand recall and brand recognition. If somebody asked me, okay, you're thinking of going to New York from Detroit for Thanksgiving, what airline would you be looking at to fly from Detroit to New York? The first name that I will recall, and it is in my head right now, I'm taking time because I'm explaining this to you, is Delta. Okay, so what I've done is I have recalled the name of Delta Airlines, Delta, okay, right away. So Delta has to be very happy because in terms of top of the mind awareness, it is right there, front and center. That's the first name that popped up. Okay, so I'm aware of the brand to the extent that that is the first name that I'm recalling. Okay, so that is the idea of brand recall. So when you go to a restaurant and the waiter or the waitress comes to you and says, what would you like to drink? Some of you say Coke, some of you say Pepsi, some of you might say beer, and let's say specific name Heineken. Some of you might name some other beer, for example. Okay, what you're doing in this case is you're recalling Coke versus Pepsi versus Heineken versus Coors versus Corona versus Budweiser. You're recalling those names. There is no visual cue in front of you. But on the other hand, there are times in our lives when we basically go the recognition route. So you go to your local grocery store and you're thinking of buying, let's say among other things, you're thinking of buying, let's say some breakfast cereals. Okay? And you like to experiment, you like to buy different brands, But you're thinking, well, I saw this ad last night and I quite don't recall. And as you're walking down the aisle, you see this box of cereals, brightly colored in, let's say, orange and green. And you go, there it is. That's the box. That's the one that I saw last night. I'm going to buy that. So you have just recognized the product. So oftentimes we buy products on the basis of recognition as opposed to recall. And it happens almost all the time when we are walking up and down the aisles in a grocery store. So brand awareness could be looked at in terms of the degree to which somebody can recall your brand name, or to the degree to which they can recognize your brand in an appropriate setting. So you want to maximize brand awareness through your advertising. Questions on brand awareness? So on the exam, a question might say, brand awareness as a communication objective involves or includes, and one of the options will be recall and recognition, and that is the option that you circle. Are we clear? Yes. Okay. So let's move forward and let's talk about brand attitude. Okay. Here is the basic idea. If you don't have a positive attitude towards a brand, let's say this is the brand. If you don't have a positive attitude towards the brand, or even in the worst case, a neutral attitude towards this brand, you're not going to buy this product. That is, if you have a negative attitude towards this brand, you're not going to buy this product. So my objective should be, my advertising objective should be to create a positive brand attitude. My advertising objective should be to create a positive brand attitude. Write this down. Write this down, please. Brand attitude is always a communication objective. Creating a positive brand attitude. Brand attitude is always a communication objective. All right, let's move forward. So the second major objective is basically, objective relates to sales. So it could be maximizing your market share. It could be maximizing your dollar sales volume. Whatever it is, those could be objectives of advertising. All right, let's move forward. And now let's look at message strategy or creative strategy. So creative strategy and message strategy, they're one and the same. So we'll talk about a few things over here, creative strategy. We'll talk about, these six issues. First and foremost, folks, you need to figure out what you want to say. And I'm not saying you need to figure out this, huge, long, exactly, what you are going to include in the 15 paragraphs, and I'm exaggerating, you're going to have in that copy. No. When I say you need to figure out what to say, I am talking about the central idea. The central idea, the main idea that you would like to convey to the target market in terms of pictures, in terms of words, in terms of videos, audios, whatever it is. Think of what the message is that you would like to convey. So Apple, for example, as a company might be thinking of, okay, we want our consumers or target market consumers to think of us as a cool brand to use. That's it. Cool brand. That's what they want to say. But they can say it in a variety of ways. That's going to come later on in the other stages. Okay. But first determine the main message you want to say. Now, there could be times when you might have multiple main messages. Fine. But decide on those central idea or the central ideas up front. Then you need to think in terms of type of appeal. Are we going to use a rational appeal, which is appealing to one's sense of reasoning, using logic, rational appeal, or are we going to use an emotional appeal, which is appealing to one's feelings, basically pulling somebody's heartstrings? So rational appeal is appealing to one's sense of reasoning. Emotional appeal is appealing to one's sense of feelings. Are we going to use a rational appeal in our ad, or an emotional appeal in our ad, or a combination of these two appeals in our ads? Okay, so let me give you an example. when you look at an ad for a car, for example, a BMW, in a magazine or in a newspaper, let's say, and sometimes they do advertise in newspapers, it's very rational. The ads are most often very rational. They talk about price, they talk about horsepower, they talk about styling, they talk about reliability, they talk about warranty, they talk about the safety features and all those kinds of things. The exact same BMW, when it is advertised on TV, or let's say through social media platform where they can post videos, they basically show you how it feels to drive out in the expressways, for example, or on these mountainous, curvy roads, and how exhilarating the experience is. So that's where they're basically pulling your heartstrings. But those are decisions that you have to make. Then we'll talk about execution style, and this is not execution as in killing somebody, it's how you actually convey the message. And then we'll talk about intensity of execution, source, and message format. So let's look at these one at a time. Okay, let's talk about types of appeal, some examples. So here is a rational appeal. Ziploc bags, you heard of this brand name? You know what this is, right? Yeah. So basically it shows you, hey, you put your fruits in here and you kind of zip lock it and basically hold it upside down, nothing comes out. Okay, so it's a Ziploc is starting the world of bags upside down. Interesting kind of tagline, but you can clearly tell there's no emotions over here. It's a very, very, very practical kind of an ad. So from a rational ad to an emotional ad, which you cannot read, here's an emotional appeal. This is a Volvo advertisement in the Middle East. Okay, essentially they're asking people to share stories of loved ones that they have lost. Okay, Volvo prides itself on safety, how safe that vehicle is. And so basically they're sharing these stories and saying basically in some cases they're stories about accidents that happen and how Volvo can actually save the people, the passenger and the driver, the travelers in that instance, for example. So they are talking about your loved ones, and they're talking about protecting your loved ones, and so on and so forth. Okay, some other examples. Okay, again, let me just talk about this one, and then we'll move forward. Chevy runs deep. This, but I don't know why I can't even draw the line over here. Oops, what happened? Okay, all right. So this is an interesting ad. So what this ad shows is a dad and his young son. So dad would be, maybe in his 30s, and the young son is 6 years old or something like that. Okay, they drive this kind of old beat up pickup truck to the repair shop and tells the mechanic to take a look at it and see how much it's going to cost to fix this car. So the mechanic goes out and checks this car and comes back and says, look, this is going to be an expensive fix. It's going to cost you like more than $5,000, but this is such an old car. What I would suggest is that you kind of, not fix this car. You just kind of take it to the junkyard and give it to them for $200-300 and walk away and get a new car. So the dad says, okay, fine. So he goes to the pickup truck and he's emptying the truck. He's going to call his wife and ask her to come pick them up. Emptying the truck, and he opens the glove compartment, and inside, as he's emptying the contents of the glove compartment, he finds an old picture. He finds an old picture of himself as a child, 6, 7, 8 years old, and his dad standing next to him with this particular pickup truck, a brand new pickup truck. Nostalgia kicks in. So he has his son with him. Now, he was a son at the time when his dad bought the car. So what he does is basically the camera cuts and goes back to the mechanic shop. So what he does is he comes into the mechanics, the shop, repair shop, and writes a check for $5,000, gives it to the mechanic and says, fix it. Okay. So essentially it's a very, very touchy-feely emotional ad where it says that basically it runs deep, it runs through the generations. Once you have a Chevy, you cannot give up a Chevy. that kind of an ad, emotional appeal. Does it work? I mean, who knows? It's a very nice, touchy-feely type of an ad. Okay, so let's move forward and let's look at the rest of the creative strategy. So we'll talk about execution style. How do you tell or convey the central idea? How do you convey the central idea? One way in which you can convey the central idea is through case history or slice of life. Case history or slice of life. What is this? Let me give you an example. American Express, and we saw one of their ads. The tagline is "Don't leave home without it." So American Express used to run this ad where they showed this guy, a business person, in New York City, getting out of a cab, and it's raining, and he kind of runs into the hotel with his belongings, and the cab is gone, and he's trying to check in at the front desk, and he realizes quickly in the process of trying to check in that he dropped his wallet as he was exiting the taxi. So he runs back outside, and basically, obviously, sidewalk, New York City, it's gone. So he comes back kind of dejected, and he stands there, but the desk clerk says, "Don't worry, we'll take care of it." So he calls, actually, because the guy had told him that he was an American Express member. So the desk clerk calls American Express and tells them what the problem was, and American Express approves his stay over the phone, and everything is taken care of, basically, and he's able to check in. And the American Express ends with the tagline. It says, "Membership has its advantages." Membership has its advantages. So what they depicted was a case history, something that had happened to somebody, a slice of life, something that happened in somebody's everyday life, and how basically American Express addressed that issue. Okay, so telling a story to underscore or underline how this product can address certain issues or satisfy consumers' needs. The second option you have is, and this is probably the most often used option, which is the problem solution format. The problem solution format. So they'll show a problem, and then they will show you a solution to the problem. Okay, so in India, this Fair and Lovely, these ads, they use the problem solution format, when I don't think having a darker skin is not a problem, but that is what they marketed themselves on. Okay, late night ads, you see these vegetable slicers and choppers and all these things. The problem is to be able to kind of uniformly cut, let's say the onion or the tomatoes or whatever it is, cucumber, and here is a gadget that you have with one kind of a push. You can basically slice tomatoes and cut onions, and they'll be uniformly sliced and all these things, right? If you're having problems of doing laundry, for example, and your clothes, the white clothes, do not come out as white as they should be, well, here's a solution, tied with bleach, for example. If your laundry doesn't come out smelling as fresh as you think they should, here is a solution tied with the fresh, I guess, spring scent in it. So problem solution type of a format. So let's move forward. We'll come back to you. Okay, well, let's talk about humor, sex, and animation, and then we'll look at some examples, and then we'll move forward. Okay, so humor and sex, let's talk about these two. Okay, one thing that you should keep in mind regarding the use of humor and sex in advertising is that you shouldn't overdo the humor part, or you shouldn't overdo the sexual content part. Okay, the reason is that people will actually end up remembering the humor part, remembering the sexual content of the ad, and forget your brand, and that is not good. So you want to be creative over here, but not so creative that people forget about your product. Okay, so that's about humor and sex. And then you have, or you can use animation, for example, cartoon characters to market your product, and that is also routinely done across various product categories. Any questions? Okay, so which style execution? Let me see here what I have. How do I show you a video? Okay, Chevy. Okay, this Chevy Volt is, this is This is actually humor. I'm sorry, I cannot show it to you. Let me see if I can show you something else. Okay, which execution style is this? Ah, BASF, the chemical company. What execution style is this? Problem solution format, absolutely. So you have, we saw this ad for Dove, problem solution, dry skin, itchy skin, Dove, body lotion. That's what we're talking about. Okay, the next one, it's humor, but humor is very kind of cultural. So let's move forward. This is also humor. This is Microsoft versus, PC. So this is the cool guy. I'm a Mac. This is I'm a PC. All right. They used to basically show, Mac would show PC as, kind of stuffy looking kind of guy, and sometimes sitting on a wheelchair with, bandages on the legs in a cast, hands in a cast. And essentially they were saying that, these PCs, I guess, they have problems in terms of kind of not working properly, but Macs do not. So they used to run these series of ads. Let's see what else we have. We don't need to see these things. I wish I could show you this ad. Let me see. Yeah. Does anyone know how to show video? You can stop sharing and then share screen. Okay, let me see. Let me try this. Okay, let me see if I can show you this video. Okay, I stopped sharing. Now, how the hell do I get to the videos? Hold on. Media strategy, pricing.
So I'm just thinking if you can copy the link out and you probably just open a new tab on your system. You try to play it from there and then you share your screen with us here.
Yeah, that's what I'm. Okay, this is the one. Let me see here. Copy the link. I hope this is what I'm thinking it is. Hold on. Okay. Yes, it is. Okay. So now I should share the screen. Yes, I guess. If only I can find you guys. Okay. Where are you? No, I know I'm in here.
Okay, so I think just the same place you shared the slides. So I think once you click on that, you probably
Yeah,
see.
but I'm trying to Blackboard. This is the only one. Once I got out, let me see here. Let me do this. You have joined the session. You join the window. Rejoin the session. So I think I have. Anyways, let me see here. Hold on. Okay. I know you're there, and I think, can you see me?
Yes.
Okay, but why can I not see you guys? Check if you have joined another window, rejoin the session. This is very strange. Let me get out and let me come back. Okay?
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I found you guys. So I don't know how that happened. Can you hear me? Hello?
Yeah, hello,
Yes, sir.
Prof.
Okay, okay. So this is, okay, now we go to, how do you share screen on this one?
Okay. Just the same way you shared contents. I mean,
No, but
just
see, I
click on.
have to I have to add files, but I don't have a file. I have a screen.
No. What I'm saying is that the link you copied from the course, right? From
Uh-huh.
the course, just put it on the tab, like open the link. I think it's a YouTube link. So just open the link, then you share your screen from Blackboard. So you
But
just
I cannot share my screen. It doesn't say share screen in the sense that it says, I have to add files and then I can share files. That's the
I think there
problem.
is share applications also. I don't know, something like that. It's a share application.
so like sharing your window, like just first of all you have to open the
Okay,
link
share
somewhere.
application. Okay. Entire screen application window.
Yes, I think share the window.
But I just see you guys. I don't see anything else. I mean, that's the problem. But you can choose what you'd like to share, your entire screen.
Yes,
Okay, if
yes.
I share the entire screen,
you won't see us.
no, okay, share. What the hell is this?
Okay, so we can see your screen. You just have to play the video.
But I have no idea where the video is. I mean, this is like so many things. It's like screen after screen after screen.
You have to open a new tab for the video.
Oh God. Okay, let me do this. Let me open a new tab for the video. I'm determined to show you this video. Okay. Okay, now I go where? Now I have lost you guys, of course. Hold on, give me a few minutes. Log in academia. Where? This is so confusing. Oh God, Zoom, new tab. No. Can you still see my screen?
No.
Okay, Blackboard collaborate. Okay, now if I do share application, share screen, not the entire app window. If I do see, this is still this, thousands of things. So if I click over here, see, something is not working right. I'm getting like 3 of these. You see? Okay. So give me just 1 minute. I know we're past the time, but this is. Anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to post this thing and you guys watch it, okay? So, okay, we're going to, this is the slide, okay? One more slide, let's move forward, okay? And then we'll end it, okay? So we're talking about intensity of execution, which means, I guess, how exaggerated you're going to be in terms of what message you give. So you see this ad, I don't know if you can associate with this. Do you know what this ad is all about? What's this MADD is all about? This is mothers against drunk driving. Mothers against drunk driving. And see this picture? Yeah, drunk driving. So basically, you know, this is your martini key. They don't mix. You're not going to drive drunk. Okay. Now, it could have been a very simple, bland message: don't drink and drive, but nobody would pay attention. But this is basically an in-your-face kind of a message. Okay, in-your-face kind of a message. So basically, they're expressing the central idea: don't drink and drive, in a very exaggerated way. In a very, very exaggerated way. So a lot of products they're advertised, they will exaggerate intentionally. You know how, for example, you know, this product can solve your problem, etc., etc. And you know, it's not that they're lying, but they just want to kind of draw your attention by executing the central idea, telling you the central idea in a very, very, I guess, exaggerated way and intense way. Okay, I do have some ads over here, which I guess, you know, we will not go through. So when we come back, folks, we will talk about selecting the source attributes, selecting the source attributes. And this is where we will begin next time when we meet, which is next Tuesday. Thank you very much. I'll see you next Tuesday. All right, Daria, just a second. Let me cut and paste that thing and share that. Oh, I'll do it later on. Okay. Yep. Go ahead, Daria.
Okay, sir. Yeah, I told you initially that we're waiting behind for the explanation for the ranking, the previous lecture.
Yeah.
So you were giving an explanation, so I had connection issues, so I went off for a bit.
Yeah. So you know, ranking in terms of importance. I mean, it's a very simple concept. You know, what is, you know, for example.
Yeah, you were talking about the objective and task method.
Yeah. I know what I'm talking about. I'm trying to give you a very simple example. Let's say you have 4 things to do today after class.
Okay.
Okay. 4 things to do today after class. Your parents have asked you to go get certain things for the household. You need to go to the library to get, you know, some book for your exam that's coming up. Okay. And you need to, maybe the third thing is you need to meet your girlfriend, for example, for a cup of coffee. And the fourth thing is, you know, you need to kind of meet some of your friends. Okay. And you just don't have that much time left after this class. Okay. So you have to rank these tasks in terms of importance. What's most important to you? You might say, well, you know, my parents have been after me for such a long time. I need to get this done first. And then whatever time is left, I'm going to distribute amongst the other 3. So maybe your parents' request is number 1. Seeing your girlfriend for a cup of coffee is number 2. Seeing your buddies is number 3. And going to the library and, you know, getting books is number 4. And you are, what time is it in Lagos?
It's almost 4 o'clock. It's 3:50.
4 o'clock. And you have to do this by let's say, you know, 6 o'clock this evening, all these things. So you may have time, you may not have time, but you have to rank them in order of importance. Which one is most important to you to accomplish first? Likewise, in promotion, basically, when you identify the tasks, advertising, personal selling, sales, promotion, etc., and you rank them in order of importance, what you're saying is that, hey, for the type of product that I sell, for the target market that I would like to reach, advertising should be ranked number 1 in terms of importance. If I do not do anything else, I need to spend money on advertising. Number 2 in terms of rank is personal selling. So that is the idea of ranking them in terms of importance.
Okay. So yeah, I think what we're actually talking about is the budget, something. I think we're talking about budgets.
Yeah.
So
once you rank them in terms of importance, then you basically distribute your resources. You give it to the most important one. Let's say you work for a pharmaceutical company.
Okay.
And you have 4 different, you know, projects going on at the same time.
Yeah.
You with me?
Yes, sir.
Now all of a sudden, basically, because of the changes in the environment, COVID and all these things, you might say, you know, we cannot do all 4 at the same time. We have to basically do 1 out of 4, you know, basically accelerate the pace of development. So that's most important, rank number 1 in terms of importance, given the environmental situation. So we have $200 that we can spend on research for these 4 medicines. we're going to spend, $170 now on this, number one on the list because it's very important. That's the idea.
Okay, it's like going for the task that help us to move a little bit closer to the set goal or the objective.
No, the task is not the goal or the objective. The task has a goal or the objective. So it's most important in terms of, whatever your objective is, getting your market share or creating awareness, whatever it is, you have to identify what is most important or not.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so I need to first of all identify what I need to do first. Then
Yeah.
Then I
Yeah.
can I just need to put them into a rank, like which one comes first, and the one like whichever comes
Which
next.
one you should be doing first, which one you should be doing, next, and based on that, you basically decide on how much money to spend and where.
Okay, thank you, sir.
All right. Anybody else? Thank you, Purna.